What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figure it out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
Blog Talk Radio.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's Friday. I was about to say to you all that I'm so excited to be hosting Laura from Starkist Tuna from the lovely walls of Nashville, Tennessee. Unfortunately, we've had ourselves a little altercation, which means I'm literally broadcasting from a hotel in one of my least favorite states in the entire world, which would be Indiana. I'm a little cranky this morning, but I am very confident that Laura and I are going to have a wonderful conversation. We're going to have a great interview, tons and tons of questions. She is a wealth of knowledge as it relates to nutrition, dietary needs, etc. So without further ado, let's not keep her on the line and let's get going with our interview. Laura?
Good morning. Good morning.
Hi. How are you?
Hi. I'm great. How are you?
Well, you're going to be the highlight of my day today, Laura. And I literally mean that. This is definitely like the highlight of my day. I was just telling my listening audience, I was due to go to Nashville this weekend, and so I was going to surprise my audience and figure out where I am. Well, you know, we decided to drive there. Car's now broken down. We're kind of stranded in Indiana, and I'm sitting in a hotel room talking to you. So it couldn't be better because I'm very excited that you're here.
Well, I'm really happy to be here. I'm really happy to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I have I've done tons of research on the company. I've researched and kind of checked you out as well. So I have tons of different questions about you, about the company itself, and then we're going to talk, of course, about nutrition, your products, some of the new things you've got on hand. So I've kind of made it an introspective sort of interview. But I want to talk about you first, if that's okay.
Sure.
First thing I want to mention to listening audience is that Laura's capacity with Starkist is that she's not only a dietitian, but she's also Senior Manager of Nutrition and Regulatory Affairs. And I know that you oversee not only making and creating recipes, but also the regulatory and nutritional labeling initiatives for the company. So you've got your hands full. So my question to you is you know, that's a lot, you know, which means you're a brain. You're literally a brain, which I admire more than I can tell you. So I want to talk a little bit pre-Starkist, if we could. Is this sort of the direction that you took in from the get-go, or how did you end up getting into the dietary side of things? Talk a little bit about your past to get us to the point we're at now.
Okay, well, I'm like you said, I'm a registered dietitian. And when I first got out of school, my first job was working at the Veterans Administration Hospital here in Pittsburgh. And I worked with them and moved on to the University Hospital, where I worked with cancer patients for about 9 years.
Okay.
That was probably one of the most rewarding jobs I've ever had, but as you can imagine, that's tough. So I moved on and worked with people with diabetes and heart disease and people who needed to lose weight. I did a lot of education and just teaching people how to incorporate healthy food into their daily meals.
Okay.
I'm a firm believer in healthy eating is and should be a delicious way of eating. I think that kind of sums up my philosophy in a nutshell. And so when I was working in the hospital and working with clients that way, that was my challenge, was to teach them how to eat healthy but keep it really delicious.
Gotcha.
I went into nutrition because I love food and I love to cook. And so I've always come from that perspective as a dietitian. I think food it's nourishing, it's fun, it brings people together. And all types of food can be healthy and delicious. So anyway,
gotcha.
Yeah, I really am a firm believer in that. And after a while, I kind of decided I wanted to make a change, do something a little different with my nutrition background, and found myself working in the food industry, which has been also really exciting and fun. I get to still work with consumers and teach them about how to incorporate healthy food, good food into their day. I get to develop recipes to help them do that, which is tons of fun. And do things like this, talk to you about how to help people do it.
Yes, that's exactly right. And you'll find out in the course of this conversation that you've picked the right person, because I'll be picking your brain about certain different things nutritional-wise, because I'm here to tell you I'm like a patient's dream. I'm like the most non-nutritional person you'll ever meet in the entire world. So it's really cool that I have Laura on my show as I'm sitting here and saying, yes, I had my Mountain Dew and my donut for breakfast this morning. Not really, but still, that's just me. On the personal side of things, I thought this was really neat because, well, first of all, I want to ask you this question because, honestly, I'm not going to lie to you. As it relates to things such as tuna products, I'm relatively limited. And I noticed yesterday on your Twitter feed, one of the things you mentioned was talking about your dogs. You obviously are a dog owner. So I was curious to ask this question, not only just for your dog, but for pets in general, your particular products. Are they allowed to be fed to dogs, cats, things like that? I mean, are they perishable for the pets?
Well, that's a good question. I know I'm not a vet. I'm not a vet animal nutritionist. I know that, especially for cats, a lot of cats enjoy tuna, and people will feed our tuna to their cats. Okay. My dog loves every time I open a pouch of tuna or salmon, he goes a little crazy.
I imagine so.
Yeah, I think depending upon the animal and their health needs, and it's certainly something I'd run by your vet before doing that. But it certainly should be fine.
Okay, I gotcha. Yeah, and I was just always curious about that because I have a cat at home. Obviously, I'm not a dog owner, but I know that a lot of times, oftentimes, like, for instance, some dogs can't have chocolate, or you can't feed this to this particular one. And I thought to myself,
are you there? Are you there? Cindy? Hello?
Laura?
Yes.
Hi, Laura. For some reason, I lost you there. I don't know. Oh, gosh. And I apologize because I'm in a hotel, so I'm kind of at the mercy of their internet. So I wonder if you just got disconnected. Oh, my gosh. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now? oh, my God. Oh, my goodness. Okay, so we were talking about, I was asking you, in case you didn't get the question, please don't make me laugh because I'm either going to laugh or cry. This is just like, oh, my gosh. I was so geared up about this interview, and I was so excited. I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is the first time Holly and I are working together. I'm on my A game. I did all my research. I'm all prepared, and I'm like, oh, my God. And now I'm stuck at the mercy of a hotel internet in the middle of Super 8. This is my life right now. Thank you.
We're going to make it work. No problem.
Or you betcha. Now, I was talking about the two components that we share that are similarities. For one, we both like to write. We both like to travel. So my question was, I know you do the things for work that you do, obviously on the Starkist website and article writing and things like that. But do you do any of the creative side of things, poetry or blogs or any kind of things that's more less professional, so to speak?
Less professional. You know what? On a personal note, when I'm at home, I love to cook, so I'm always cooking and taking pictures of my food and Instagramming them, or talking to my friends about what I'm making. I do a little bit of writing on my own, but honestly, I just, as much as I love doing things like that, I haven't found like I have a lot of time to do it. So that's
awesome.
it's on my list. I do like to write. I love to write, and I love going around and finding new places. So on my back burner list is to really get a blog kind of up and running. I've dabbled, but I haven't been able to really make that work yet.
Gotcha. No, I understand some of us, and I totally get what you're saying. A lot of times it's just a lack of time. It's not that you don't want to do it, it's that you don't have time to do it, of course.
Yeah.
Same thing on the travel side of things. Now, you're very fortunate because I see on the tweets and all the different notations here. Now, I was curious to ask you how many of the expos, that you travel to and physically work yourself. Do you have a great deal of time where you're doing that?
So for work, there are a number of different shows that I'll go to and talk to either consumers or other health professionals. Do a number of those throughout the course of a year. And we usually have recipes that we're sampling and talking, giving them things to taste so they can see, number one, what it tastes like, how good and delicious it is, and they can see how easy it is to put together. So I do go to a number of those and work at them myself.
Okay.
They're usually a lot of fun.
Well, and the other thing that I'm curious about is of all the different expos that you travel to, et cetera, is there a commonality, meaning when you meet people, can you tell us maybe one or two things that are most important? What are their biggest concerns? What do they come to you with at the expo that they want to find out or learn more about? Or what are you most educating folks on in that setting?
I think the biggest thing is, and I think the thing that they're most surprised to learn about, is how easy we have made it for them to incorporate tuna or salmon into their meals. We've got our, individual pouches. They can just open them and eat them right there. They can put it on crackers or on a salad. And I think, when they're shopping either for themselves or recommending things for their clients, it's not something that's top of mind. You forget about tuna and salmon that are in the center of the store. People think when you're making seafood or you have to eat seafood that it's got to be this big elaborate dinner that you're making, and it almost seems too hard to do. And here we've made it very simple. So I think for them, the thing that they're the most surprised about is how easy and how delicious it is to incorporate seafood into their meals.
Oh, no, I agree with you, and I've been noticing that. That's one of the things we're getting and talking to and later in the interview is just some of the new offerings and how simplistic and simple it is at home, in a home setting, to utilize a lot of your products that are quick, simple, easy meals that are also very nutritious, which is what I'm excited about. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I want to talk about one of the quotes, and I want to just claim that it's yours or not because you didn't have a reference, and I really liked this. It said 49% of consumers learn about raw food through social media. That just blew my mind away. I'm like, seriously. Can you talk, why I guess what intrigues me is nutrition and health and taking care of ourselves is just a necessity. Even if it's just on a poor level, we all need to be mindful of that. So does that shock you that almost half of consumers out there are learning about this through social media and not other mediums or looking into it? Do you know what I'm saying? The traditional ways?
Yeah, and I think that's just a change in how people are living their lives today. We're very on our cell phones all the time and going to our Facebook feeds or Twitter or Instagram, and I think a lot of information is being shared through probably Facebook in particular, and that's where people are finding a lot of information about nutrition, good and bad. But they're more apt to trust information coming from their family and friends, and getting something from having a friend share an article through social media. I think that's where they're learning a lot.
And it's amazing to me, social media, and you may or may not agree with this, so this is my question to you, because I know myself that you can almost do an overload of social media. Do you know what I mean? Like, let's go to WebMD. I have a cold. No, wait, now all of a sudden I have pneumonia. No, wait, all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying? You can get inundated. So at what point do you tell your clients or consumers when you meet people and say to them, if they want to learn about nutrition and healthy foods and seafood and its necessity to us, how much becomes too much research?
Well, I think that's almost hard to answer, because I think it depends upon the person. Some people really dig into it and come to conclusions that, well, maybe they shouldn't. And other times you can find some really good information from some very reliable websites and sources. So always, if you've got a medical condition, I always tell people, great to do some background research so you have questions to take to your physician, because I think that's important. You do the research so that when you go to your physician, you're pretty well informed and you can ask them questions. But always kind of, if you want to make a change, talk to your physician, talk to your medical provider about that change to make sure it fits everything else that might be going on with you. So great to do background research, clear it through, talk to your doctor or your healthcare professional before you really make big changes.
You betcha. Now, before I forget to ask the question that I know I'm not supposed to, so we'll just see. I'm sure you'll give me an honest answer, because we all know what Laura does for a living. And so because we know that you're very big on diet and nutrition, you're going to tell me that you eat healthy 24/7. Isn't that right?
Oh, of course. No.
I was just going to say, let's wait and see what she says. I'm waiting. Go ahead.
Like I said earlier, I really believe I love food. I love to eat. I believe that there's a place for all different types of food. Do I eat, quote, healthy most of the time? I would say I strive to do that, but I enjoy a sweet treat. I enjoy indulgent food too. And when I used to work with kids, I would tell them, once in a while, having something that I would call a sometimes food, that's okay. You can work it in. I think that's part of what makes life so enjoyable, is trying new things and enjoying your food. And if it's an indulgent treat occasionally, I think that's great. And I think it also helps you stick with a healthier eating plan if you do allow yourself to periodically have a treat.
Yes, and I was kind of thinking the same thing, and the one thing that kind of jogged through my mind was, if you could throw out to the listening audience, a lot of times people are synonymous in thinking with tuna, and they're thinking, okay, the only reason they eat it is because it's healthy for you, da-da-da-da-da. So it's not always the most exciting snack per se. So if I were to ask you, is there a simple and easy way to jazz it up? Let's say, for instance, because I know obviously most of us are prepping for back to school, let's say. So we want to make something and put it together for our kids that's going to be healthy and simple. And for some of us moms who have very little time, is there a way that we can do that? Make it jazzy and make it exciting for the kids where they're not like, oh, no, that tuna again. You know what I'm saying? Because you know how kids are. They're like, oh, yeah, I can't wait for tuna, right? No, I don't know that they're always saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think there are a lot of different ways, and there are some great things out on the market right now. Kids like things that are in different shapes. I know that there's a bread out there that's in the shape of a fish. So why not put that flavored tuna on the bread that's shaped like a fish for your tuna sandwich? I think you can do things like that. You can put tuna on, we've done it on little waffles, make it kind of bite-sized. You can make little sliders. We have a honey barbecue tuna for kids that's great for kids. And just put it on a little slider bun with a piece of cheese, and there you're good to go. It makes it just a little more fun, a little more personal for them. Right. So I think there are lots of different ways you can kind of make it kid friendly and kid special.
Yeah, and I would agree with you as far as that goes. Because like I said, and it's not that the product isn't a good product. I think it's all in a matter of appeal. If you make it more exciting, more appealing, more interesting, make it a little more curious, if you will, meaning the consumer looks and says, oh, this is interesting. What's this all about? Sometimes you're onto something, obviously, but you're the expert. I need to tell you that. Speaking of expert, let me just throw this out here. You got your BS from University of Dayton, your master's, of course, in nutrition from University of Pittsburgh. I just found that interesting. Not only is she have a mammoth brain, apparently, because I don't even know how you make it through that much school. I'm still not disciplined. I had 1 year of college, and then I'm like, I'm raising my kids. I can't do this college thing. So kudos to you on getting all the way through this educational process. That's amazing. The one thing I want to ask about education, especially to those that are listening in that might be younger, that might be trying to figure out what they want to do, two people, two sides of the fence. I'll talk to some of my guests and they'll say, you know what, I did just fine with not necessarily having years and years of education. So tell us the benefit of having this big backdrop and walking into your career. Tell us what most benefited you from having that education in both places.
Well, you know what, getting my bachelor's, that's what really opened up the door and allowed me to go forward and become a registered dietitian. So I had to have that bachelor's degree. And by getting that degree through the University of Dayton, I also had some experiences during the summer working in a children's hospital and learning how a kitchen in a children's hospital worked. I was able to work with a WIC program, and I taught at a summer camp, and I worked in a nursery school. So I was able to get a lot of different experiences while I was there to kind of see what I enjoyed, what parts of the nutrition program I really enjoyed and kind of gravitated to. So I think for me, you know, the education, you have to have that schoolwork, that background, but it also provided me with a lot of opportunity to see different ways I could use that nutrition degree. And I think that allowed me to kind of focus a little bit and realize where I wanted to go with my career.
Gotcha.
So, you know, that was the jumping off point. And then my master's degree I did at night while I was working. That just was the way that I could do it. And through that, you know, I learned a lot just by having to work and go to school at the same time. I think it helps you learn how to budget your time, and I was also able to get some different experiences and meet new people through the master's degree at Pitt that I didn't have exposure to at the University of Dayton. So, you know, through doing both, I really got a lot of, opened my eyes to a lot of opportunity and options.
Of course, definitely. And I'm a huge advocate. I mean, I used to teach. I'm waiting to go back to teaching. It would be one of those things, but it's on the list, as you know, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, I do speak a lot about education, especially. And do you envision yourself at some point, because I'm not sure how it is in your field, like most fields will always have continuing education. Is that vital for you, or are there other ways to not have to be in the classroom setting to continue your education?
Right. As a dietitian, as a registered dietitian, we have to have 75 hours of continuing education credits every 5 years. And we can get those through a variety of different ways. Some are through seminars, or you can certainly take a graduate course and get credits that way, or volunteer work or webinars. There are a lot of different ways that you can kind of piece those credits together. And through doing that, you also have to kind of have set goals of what you want to learn over those 5 years to maintain your credentials. So that's how, that's
a little bit about your life, which is awesome. And yeah, and forgive me, but like I said, I always have felt that the best interviews oftentimes are when you're talking the dual purpose. I mean, obviously we're here to discuss the company, but it goes without saying that you're a person. And so if there was no Laura, there would be no dietitian at Starkist, so it all kind of funnels around. So now that we've talked about your beautiful self, let's talk a little bit about the company, of course, because I have an array of different questions. First off, I know that you do a segment on Starkist, which is, of course, Ask the Dietitian, and that's where people can literally type in questions or ask or inquire about things to you directly, and then you will respond to them. So I wanted to ask you, out of all the time that you've done this, tell me about either the most unusual or most extraordinary inquiry where you literally were like, I can't answer this, I'm stumped, or you're like, that's the most bizarre question. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're thinking, where did they come up with that? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what? Like, where did they get that? You know what I mean, right?
I do. And you know what, I'll have to be honest, most of the questions we get are really well thought out and
Really?
Yeah, I can't think of any really off the wall questions. I think people are really curious to understand more about seafood and about tuna. We had the question about what's the difference between light and white meat tuna, which great question. I don't think I really thought much about that until I started working for the company. And then, we get questions about how much tuna should I eat in a day, what's safe, can you eat too much, questions like that. So they're really pretty good questions.
Until you did this interview. And you're like, here's Cindy, and she's saying all these questions, and you're like, where did she come up with that, right? Just kidding. I'm trying to be very intelligent. I hope I'm coming up with the good questions. We'll find out as we go along here.
You are. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. I have a question because I know that both Starkist and yourself are a proponent for big support of the 2015-2020 dietary guidelines.
Yeah.
And I know that you have cited some seriously strong and very sensible evidence to substantiate your opinion. So to those of us that are listening in today that have no idea who sets dietary guidelines, why they're so vital, although we can assume, let's talk a little bit about that in terms of how they set these goals and what you expect or hope to see coming out for the 2015-2020 time frame.
Sure. Yeah, so the government has for, probably since the 1980s, issued every 5 years guidelines for Americans on what they feel that Americans should be eating. Nutrition is a changing science. It's actually a very young science. So the information that we've been getting since the beginning of these dietary guidelines, it's changed over time, which can be frustrating for consumers, but it's important to understand that these guidelines are based on science. There's a panel that is selected of nutrition researchers who have a lot of knowledge in nutrition, and they come together for about 3 to 4 years before the guidelines are issued, and they go through all of the science. They have questions that they need to answer, and they pull the research and really thoroughly evaluate it to understand and figure out, where are we with the science and what should Americans be focusing on to improve their health. And so every 5 years they issue new guidelines. And in 2015, late last year, they issued the 2015 dietary guidelines for Americans, which were relatively similar to the 2010 guidelines, and just trying to give Americans the best guide they can on what you should be eating every day, every week.
Okay. And tell us your question. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interject. Yeah. I guess the one thing that I'm curious about, of course, because you're in a line where obviously seafood is a huge proponent for you. And so obviously, how does their decision-making affect your business?
Well, I think it can have a great effect on our business. As they looked at the recommendations for seafood and for what Americans should be eating, they came out this year or last year and reinforced what they said 5 years ago, which is Americans aren't eating enough seafood and they need to eat more. And they need to be eating at least 8 ounces a week, which is 2 servings.
Okay.
So, for us, 2 servings of seafood a week or 8 ounces, if we can get Americans to eat that much, that would be huge. It would really improve the health of Americans, and it would make a big difference.
Oh, definitely. And, I also want to point this out, which is a fun fact of trivia, and forgive me, and it's going to make me sound stupid, but you know what? It's a great question, so let's go there. In doing research, of course, what I never knew was your company isn't exclusive to just tuna, let's say. You have your other different lines. You have salmon that you offer. You have other things. And that kind of intrigued me because I was like, she's got sardines, she's got clams, she's got salmon. So maybe what we should be telling folks is the seafood itself, by definition, isn't just limited to the tuna or isn't just limited to shrimp. Do you know what I'm saying? Can you talk a little bit about how people can meet that seafood need, obviously not only by utilizing one of your products, but the combination of those? Right. So, yes, Starkist has a variety of products. I think we're known for tuna just because of Charlie the tuna, and we really did for many, many years focus just on tuna. But we've branched out and have introduced a number of different lines. We now have a number of different salmon products, a couple of flavored pouches, and cans of salmon. We also offer some sardines in certain parts of the country and clams, too. Wow. Yeah, so getting a variety of seafood in is one great way. You don't have to just eat tuna or just eat salmon. There are many different types of seafood products out there that can fit into your meal plan throughout the week. And what we offer really makes it so that it's very simple to get that seafood in. Definitely. And of course, by way of doing this interview, the reason I said I would do it is because I'm a huge shrimp fan. So I know after today you're going to get off the phone, you're going to call the company and say, we need to offer seafood like shrimp for people like Cindy. Because I know that's going to happen, right? You're just going to drop everything and we're going to add a line today, right? Absolutely. Maybe? Absolutely. I'll see what I can do. Oh, you're lovely. Absolutely. And since we're on the whole seafood thing, big question, because I know this has been talked about before. Why, in your opinion, what do you attach tributes to this not inferred, but just almost a conscious decision on the part of most people to just shortchange themselves in terms of seafood consumption? Why do you think it is that people are just not getting the necessary amount that they need? They're not opting to consume what they need to.
I think there are multiple reasons. When we've done some consumer research and talked to consumers about it, I think number one, the thought of having to cook seafood at home is a little bit scary. If you're buying fresh seafood, it's a more expensive protein, and you don't want to mess it up. So I think that's one thing. It's scary to think about having to cook seafood. Sure. I think the second one is you hear from consumers, it doesn't smell so great, and I don't want my house smelling. Okay, get it. And I think the other reason is they're not familiar with a lot of different types of seafood, and so trying new things and trying new types of seafood is a little intimidating. So, and I think for some people, you didn't grow up with it. If you didn't grow up eating seafood, it's not something you're thinking about consciously trying to eat more of. It's not in your normal repertoire. So, and that's really where Starkist is coming in. Is we can help you solve all of those problems. We've got the products. They're already cooked. They're ready to go. You can open up a pouch and eat it right out of the pouch. You can make salmon burgers out of the can. There are a lot of different things you could just take the pouch of tuna or salmon and put it on a salad. There are a lot of different ways using our products that you can get seafood in, get the 2 servings of seafood a week that you need to get in.
Gotcha. And of course, the other thing I was thinking about too, when I, in listening to you have this little chit chat, this is my other question then in terms of consumption once again.
Okay.
Do you ever come across, because nowadays we live in a society, and I've seen this because I've done some demoing of other food products, for instance, and the number one question that seems to come up these days is, well, is your product, do you have soy products? Do you have gluten products? Do you have more holistic, not for lack of a better term, holistic type? So talk a little bit about Starkist's stance on that, because I'm not 100% clear. I know that you have a couple of gluten products, if memory serves me correctly. Some delve into the soy area. I'm not sure you can do that. Maybe talk about, do you get positive feedback from the community in terms of offering sufficient amounts of that type of food?
Yeah, you know what? We're always looking at different ways and better ways that we can help meet our consumers' needs and, hear from them what they're looking for. So the vast majority of our products are gluten-free. Not all of them, but the vast majority are. And we're starting to, we have that information on our website, but we're starting to add some of that to the label of our products so that it's very visible for consumers. They'll be able to see right off the bat.
Okay, I gotcha.
And other things like soy-free or that's another big one, and we're always looking, what do we need to do? What are consumers looking for? Is there something else that we can offer them that would help meet those needs? So definitely looking at it, definitely looking at different ways to help consumers with what they're looking for.
Oh, of course, definitely. No, I want to switch gears just a little bit because I think this is a really neat thing. As I prefaced earlier in the interview, I know that you actually write recipes as part of your profession, and I've only known or associated with just a few folks who've done that. So this is what I wanted to know. If you can give a glimpse maybe kind of from start to stop, tell me how you formulate, in your opinion, because you know some of your best recipes or things you've come up with. Tell me how that process works for you. Because for a writer, obviously things are a little different. This is recipe creation, and I'm assuming you have to think nutrition and health requirements, things like that. Talk to me about that process of putting together something that's ideal recipe-wise.
Sure, it's a really fun process, I have to admit, and it starts with really talking to the brand team, our marketing team, and finding out what, for a particular product, what they're looking for, how they think that the consumer is going to eat the product, or what ideas how we could be communicating to and helping the consumer understand how easy it is to use. So it's working with the marketing team a little bit to start generating ideas. I look at menus, I watch food trends to try and see, what are the ingredients, what are the things that people are really interested in these right now, and what would entice them to want to add our product to. We have it's called a Caribbean tuna salad on our website, and it's a tuna salad that's in an avocado half. We know that avocados right now are very trendy. They're a good source of healthy fats. People are using them more and more in very interesting ways. So, I took that and I thought, well, what can I do with an avocado, and how can I make tuna fit with it and make it a little bit different? I don't want to substitute mayonnaise, avocado for mayonnaise. That's been done. I want to do something different.
Right.
So
right.
I started thinking about, what flavors really go with an avocado. And so I think about the flavor profiles. And I thought, well, mango, that's kind of a nice, fresh, crisp, bright flavor. And I think it would pair really nicely with an avocado. So I threw some mango in. And then I thought a little bit more about it. I thought, well, what else could I do to give it a little bit of crunch because you got to think about texture. And I think I threw some. I think that one has jicama in it, which is, if you haven't had it, it's a root vegetable that has a nice crunch like celery does, but it's a mild, almost a little bit of a sweet flavor. And it pairs really nicely with the mango and the avocado. And, then I think about what spices could I add. And I just kind of play around with it till I come up with something that I think tastes good and would be something that is colorful, tastes good, usually we try to keep it under 10 ingredients, and if I can keep it under 7, that's even better because we want it to be something simple. So colorful, tastes delicious, as few ingredients as we can, and something that consumers might be able to find easily in their grocery store or in their pantry. So
that's awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I'm so impressed. I can't stand it because I can't do that. I'd like to think I'm a good writer, but try telling me to make a recipe. I don't think so. I can't even feed myself right. So I'm like, we all
have different talents. And
yes, we do. And thank God for that one. I get to sit over here and do radio. You get to sit over there and be lovely and know how to do really cool things with food, which is like awesome. Okay, I have to pick your brain for a moment because I am that healthy undeficient, and we'll talk about this for a second. One of the things I found out about myself in going to a doctor, which I do like once a year because I'm terribly bad, as I said, and they mentioned to me that I had a very serious, a very high vitamin D deficiency, which isn't abnormal. I'm 47 years old. I'm getting older, I understand. But what I was curious to ask you was if by chance you might know or be able to recommend any particular products, diet-wise, you know what I mean, that can add that vitamin D back into your immune system or into your body.
Sure. Right. Well, very interesting question. I'm glad you asked it because seafood, believe it or not, is especially like we talk about tuna and salmon as being an oily seafood, is one of the few natural sources of vitamin D. So eating salmon, tuna, sardines, mackerel, fish like that, you're going to get some natural vitamin D just by including those in your diet. So tuna and salmon, great source of vitamin D, good choice if you're trying to boost your levels, and you're getting a lot of other nutrition out of it also. So.
Gotcha. Wonderful. And that's, like I said, I mean, obviously I can go to the store and they're telling me, take 2,000 a day, because of my age, et cetera.
Right.
And that's fine, except for the fact that some of us don't take that 5 minutes of time. And let's face it, it's just easier to eat seafood, in my opinion. Everyone should be eating seafood, and lots of it, just saying. Okay, and it's not just because she's on my show right now, but seriously, you should. Okay. We started to talk about, of course, back to school and prepping and things like that. Here's an interesting question because I come across this, and I know that you're located in Pittsburgh, and I, of course, am in Wisconsin. So we'll kind of do comparative notes here, but I think it's almost universal in this, but we'll see. Schooling, in terms of the kids, sending them off to school, et cetera. I have noticed that the progression of time over time, at least in our school system, it would seem as though it's become relatively restrictive for parents to be able to send snacks or what is allowed within the school districts in terms of what kids can eat. Now, do you ever find that becomes a struggle in terms of trying to prep parents and give them suggestions or advice on what to give their kids for snacks in terms of your products and such?
Well, I think that could be challenging depending upon the school district and what their rules are. But I think there are a lot of really good options out there for moms to think about what to send for kids. Certainly our pouches of tuna are nice to pack because they're sealed. They don't need to be refrigerated. They can open them up and put the tuna or the salmon right on their sandwich or their salad. Yogurt and fruit works really well. Hummus and vegetables. There are a lot of different things that you can work in if there are restrictions from the school around other foods that maybe they're kids with allergies that you can't have nuts or something sent in.
Right.
So I think there are a lot of other options available for moms.
Okay. And of course, obviously, it works hand in hand, at least some of us that are, in this particular case, when I'm running around at home and the school year starts, for some of us, you just can't breathe. You know what I'm saying, in terms of that sort of thing, as far as we all have our busy schedules, and then that's, everyone. So I guess my question is, to those that are listening in that have, that are moms, dads, et cetera, when they're trying to figure out convenient things to make at the end of the school day, because you have so much time for homework and activities, can you suggest some things that would be terrific in terms of using your products and meals that are quick and healthy for everyone?
Sure. So I think I mentioned like a salmon cake. Those are really fast to put together, and a lot of times you have everything you need to make it either in your refrigerator or your pantry. So a couple pouches of salmon, some breadcrumbs, an egg, and maybe chop up some celery and put it together, celery and onion, put it together into patties. And you can, I bake them off in my oven. I don't fry them. So those are quick and easy to do. We will do for kids, and I love this idea. It's on our website. Especially if you've got little kids, to start incorporating seafood into their meals. What I'll tell moms to do is, a lot of times tuna can be substituted for chicken or beef in other recipes. So, for instance, sloppy joes.
Okay.
Sure. Sloppy joes. We came up with a recipe called Sloppy Charlies, and what we did was simply take the sloppy joe mix and a little bit of onion, and instead of putting ground beef in it, we put tuna in it.
Oh, my God.
It's a very familiar food for the kids. Okay. They're used to sloppy joes, so we made it just a little bit healthier by adding the tuna instead of ground beef, and you can't tell the difference. Another thing that I did, and I'll be honest, I told one of my girlfriends about it because she was trying to find ways to get more tuna in their meals with her girls. I made a chili using our hickory smoked tuna. And she said, she said, I don't know. And I said, you have to try it. And she did, and she said it's one of their favorite meals now. The girls are always asking for it. So,
oh my gosh.
You just kind of think a little differently. You could do fish tacos. We do that a lot in the office even. Just make a seafood taco. Take a tortilla, have some tuna or salmon even in it, a little coleslaw mix and some salsa, and you've got a fish taco ready to go. So think about the familiar things that you normally eat, and is there a way that you can substitute tuna or salmon, pouch tuna or salmon in place of chicken or beef? You'd be amazed at what you can do.
Oh, and I'm amazed just listening to that, because I'm like, you know what, I would have never thought of that legitimately. And I know that my kids, I could probably, at least the salmon thing, I know that they would eat that, in terms of that.
Right.
Maybe not necessarily the tuna thing on a regular basis, but that's why you have so many different offerings, just to be able to do that, obviously, to kind of mix it up, change it up, and see how they do as far as that goes. Wonderful.
Yeah, and
there.
And it's a great way, those are great ways to start introducing seafood to kids, using familiar, yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. Now, this is an extremely important question, because I read this and I thought, that can't happen. So you prepared this most important question we're going to ask in this whole interview. So I'm guessing it's a rumor, or maybe it's not. For years, you've had this symbol, of course, Charlie the tuna. I'm hearing there's a little chit-chat about something called Brad the sawfish. What's happening with that? What's going on? What are you doing?
I forgot about Brad the sawfish. I think Brad has disappeared. I don't think.
I was kind of digging the idea of Brad the sawfish. That's kind of cool.
I think he was a very short-lived character. We love Charlie, and nothing will replace Charlie.
Of course. And when you become so synonymous, you legitimately become synonymous with that sort of thing, and it's kind of like, I think people get accustomed to that. They expect it, you know what I mean? So sometimes they can get a little different about that. But I was kind of digging that whole, I like the sound of Brad the Sawfish. It's kind of cool. Apparently that's not happening. Thanks a lot, tuna people. Okay, I'm over it. I'll be okay. But on the other side of the fence, folks, I bet you didn't know that your company does something which I think is really neat. So I want you to talk about, for whatever information you have, because as I understand it, I don't think you handle these directly. But I know you do something called Twitter parties.
We do.
Yes, talk to the folks about that. How do they get involved?
Sure. Well, I think the best thing to do is follow Starkist Charlie on Twitter. And occasionally we will do different Twitter parties. We'll work with we've worked with Vera Sweeney and Hungry Girl in the past and some different bloggers, and we will pick a night and just have a party, and Charlie joins in and we have a lot of fun.
Oh, that's really cool.
So,
now, is it just talking about your different products, or is it different topics every week, or what kind of happens with that?
They're not every week. They're every few months throughout the year, and they're different topics usually. I think we just did one that was more focused on kind of back to school with Vera, who was fantastic, and just to get different ideas from our followers, what types of things they like to do with tuna, what products are their favorites, and kind of throw out some different ideas for them, too, on what they can do.
I think that's kind of neat, too, actually, because it's a way where people can I love the interaction. That's one part of social media I don't mind, is that people can interact and all that good stuff. I wish that my radio format had Skyping capability, because I would love, and I think oftentimes people would love to see who I'm talking to and kind of, it's neat to be able to do that now that we have this techno day and age, you know what I mean? But at least you're getting to interact with your consumers, which is exciting, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And speaking of exciting, talk to me about this. LPGA lady, Michelle, I think it's We, right? W-I-E.
Michelle Wee.
Talk to me a little bit, how did you formulate that partnership with Michelle, and to what capacity will she be working with Starkist?
Yeah, so Michelle's been part of our team this year. She's helped us develop a few recipes. She's been talking to her followers a lot about how she incorporates different seafood products, some of our seafood products, into her really busy lifestyle. I mean, talk about crazy. Her life is really crazy. So she's talked to people about being healthy and as an athlete, what's important to her and how she incorporates our products into her life. So it's been a really great partnership.
That's so exciting, and it's kind of neat when you see spokespeople like that and and especially when they're doing so much in the real world, you know what I mean, in terms of profession, family, things like that, and they're still taking time to take care of themselves. That's a lesson that I'm having to learn very harsh this last year, so I totally know what you mean. I want to throw this out there so you can rest for a second, and I just want to sing the praises of your company for just a moment. To those that are listening in, Starkist was founded in 1961, of course. One of the nicest things that I found, of course, was your award from 2008. You received the Keystone Award for Leadership and Outstanding Practices, which is a testament, of course, to your product. They have sponsored events such as they've donated to Feed the Children, of course, food donated to Treasure Our Troops. Obviously, you were participating and sponsoring the Firefighter Throwdown. Just yesterday, as a matter of fact, I wanted to ask you about this, if you have any details. You just did a reception for the Korean War veterans, so I was just curious to see how that all turned out.
Yeah, so our office in Pittsburgh sits right over the Korean War Veterans Memorial, which is dedicated to the veterans from the Pittsburgh area. We are our company is owned by a Korean firm, so they're very supportive of the vets, and one of the things that they've been doing annually is having a luncheon for the veterans from the Pittsburgh area to, just to honor them and thank them for their service and helping to promote freedom for our country and for South Korea.
That's absolutely amazing. And I think that's so neat. Anything having to do with the veterans, the troops, the children, always so fundamentally important. So, again, it's just a huge testament to the credibility of and reputation, of course, of your company. Also wanted to mention that your company was also the very first to introduce the Fresh Pouch and, of course, the Tuna Creations. I want to talk a little bit about this because I'm not going to lie to you. I think I'm a smart woman. Well, at least some of the time, but it's morning. We'll check. However, two things that Starkist prides themselves on, and I want you to talk a little bit about why this is important, because I don't think people understand or grasp why this is necessary. You have a very adamant policy about the dolphin safe policy, and of course, talk about the finning philosophy, meaning your stance on finning, and why both of these things are important to your company.
Well, sure. Starkist was actually the first tuna company to adopt a dolphin safe policy, and that was back in 1990s. We very strongly condemn any fishing method that would trap dolphins or whales or any other type of marine life. So for us, it's extremely important that we make sure that the dolphins and other marine animals are not caught. And we're very proud that we are the first company to have instituted that policy. And really, the same goes for shark finning. It's just we're very against that practice. We have a very strict policy against shark finning. We will not purchase from any vessel that doesn't have that policy. We only purchase from vessel companies that share that same policy and those same practices.
I gotcha, of course. And my son is going to be your friend for life because he's 9 years old and he's so about sharks, I can't even stand it. I mean, literally, like if we could have a shark living in our backyard, it would be living in our backyard right now. So I'll be able to say, Mommy interviewed somebody and they said, yay on the shark thing, and they're going to be all like totally excited. So that's absolutely awesome. It is. It's amazing. And the two main things I wanted to point out in terms of goals and motives for your company, which I think, again, obviously you make, distribute, and market shelf-stable seafood, which is a huge thing, which we've talked about. What I think is neat, you pride yourselves on being out-of-the-box thinkers and bringing many cultures together, which I like. I like the cultural diversity side of things. I like the out-of-the-box thinker because I'm about as out-of-the-box as you're ever going to get. I'm way out there. I'm like nuts. I'm nuts in the best way possible. So I love the fact that a company literally comes out and says, you know what, we are completely out of the box. Nowadays, in 2016, 2017, you have to be outside of the box because if you're not going to succeed in business. And you've stayed in business for umpteen years now, and you have to keep self-evolving and changing. Now, on the caveat of change, of course, the last thing I wanted to talk about should be obvious because, of course, with change comes new products. So we want to talk a little bit about there was 5 that I found, of course, the Kids Tuna Creations, the Hot Buffalo Style. I know you have the Salmon Creation, the low-sodium tuna and salmon, and then there was the Gourmet Selects. So far, tell us when these new products were released at different times, how are they faring so far, and kind of give us a glimpse of what's coming down the road.
Sure. So let's see, the Salmon Creations and the Kids Creations, as well as the Buffalo product, the Hot Buffalo Style Creations, we introduced those last fall. They really started to kind of hit the market probably January, February this year. They are doing fantastic. They've been really well received by consumers. I think just having the new flavors, we're trying to be very, with the Hot Buffalo Style, we know that people are looking for spicier foods and different flavors. So we're finding that those really have been very, very well received. And then we have, you mentioned the Gourmet Selects, which those are kind of our internationally inspired products, and we have a Thai style, a jalapeno Mexican style, and a Mediterranean. And again, that's it's kind of going with the trends and seeing what people are gravitating to these days, which is, more ethnic flavors, experimenting a little bit. And those are also doing really well. People really are enjoying those and finding new ways to use them, which is great.
You betcha. Now, before I forget to ask this question, I know that your headquarters is located in Pittsburgh. So do you offer, because I know some of the companies offer where they can come in, tour the building, et cetera, get an education about some of your products. Do you do things like that? That's just curiosity because I wasn't sure if you did that. Some do.
Yeah, we our headquarters is in Pittsburgh, so that's really our administrative offices. We'll occasionally have people stop in and we'll do, some talks or overviews, but it's not the fish processing area. Those are out those are out in the middle of the ocean where the fish are. So
okay. So we need to go to the middle of the ocean. But we don't really need an appointment for that. We can just kind of like show up at will. How cute is that? That's lovely. Do you anticipate, so as far as we know for the remainder of this year, nothing new coming out, you think? No new products? I mean, nothing hot off the market, something we can anticipate hearing about soon, seeing soon, buying soon?
We've got some things coming up, things up our sleeves and coming out later this year.
I don't think she's going to tell us, folks. I think Laura's going to keep that to herself, isn't she now?
I'm not at liberty to disclose at the moment, but stay tuned. Yes,
that's okay. That's okay. But we can stay tuned, though. That's obvious.
Yes. We are always looking for and coming up with new ideas.
Oh, nice. Very nice, because you're going to like the end part of our interview because I have a few nice ideas for you. She's going to be all excited.
Great.
First of all, I'm going to read through this list of things so this way everybody knows how to be able to find you on social media and otherwise. And then there's just a few business things here. Obviously, of course, the website, Starkist.com. You have your Facebook Starkist page.
Mm-hmm.
You are on YouTube. You are on Pinterest. Twitter, you can be found at Starkist Charlie. Laura also herself can be found at Laura, and that's ALI, and then _RD. And then I did find a link for an Instagram, but it doesn't look like, it almost doesn't look active, so I'm not sure if people should be visiting Instagram or not.
Starkist does have an Instagram account, and I believe it's also Starkist Charlie.
Oh, it is? Okay, because there's something on the internet, Instagram Starkist Tuna, it shows up and it says Starkist Tuna, but there's only like 20-some followers or something. That's why I thought this doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah,
so we'll clarify that.
We definitely have an Instagram account, and we're very active on it.
That's
and I believe that,
okay, gotcha. And then, of course, I found you on Pinterest as well. I just wanted to make sure we covered the gamut there. Any other place that they can find you on social media?
I believe Pinterest, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram are our big ones. Yes, Instagram is Starkist Charlie. And
the website, of course, obviously.
And the website,
wonderful.
Absolutely.
Now, there's only 3 or 4 other things I need to do. Gosh, this whole hour went by so fast, didn't it? It's amazing to me. I get on the air and I'm like, doesn't it? Well, I try to keep it engaging. I try to keep it interesting, not only for me, but for you. I mean, I don't want you to be sitting on the thing and you're like, oh my God, this is so boring. When is this going to be done? Because you probably do interviews all the time. So I try to make it informative. I try to make it interesting and all this good stuff. So hopefully I've done my job well and I've done right by you and your company.
Absolutely.
I do hope.
Absolutely.
Few things I want to mention. Thank you so much to you because as I understand it, Holly informs me that I am getting some freebies to give away to my listening audience, which I'm very excited about. So thank you so very, very much because I know I'm getting the kids' creation pouches. So I cannot thank you enough for being gracious enough to do that.
Our pleasure.
I appreciate that. So that's number 1. Number 2, and I want you to mull this over because I think this is cool, and I probably should have mentioned it to Holly, but this is like one of those, oh my God, this is so exciting because Cindy has an idea for Starkist Tuna because I'm so on your marketing committee. No, I'm not. But I'm going to throw it out there anyways because I think this is a cool idea. You may not know this about me, and I'm not sure if you know anything about me, but one of the things I do besides hosting radio and being a writer is I'm very heavily connected in the independent film festival circuit, and I don't know if your company has ever gotten involved. And the reason I ask this is because I was thinking about this last night. There are liquor vendors and other people out there, and I thought to myself, I wonder if you have thought of the idea of, or would consider the idea of, integrating your product into some of these independent film festivals that have cocktail parties, that have opening night galas, etc. I think that's a very, very neat way to put appetizers through Starkist in a very large mainstream.
That's a great idea, and
I know, isn't it? Kind of, maybe. I don't know.
No, I think it's a great idea. I just wrote it down. So I'll talk to Holly about it after we're after we're done.
I think that's I definitely think that that's a terrific idea, and I wanted to throw that out there, obviously, because, I'm always looking for ways to try to take clients that I work with and have them network with other people. Indie film is just a huge thing as far as that goes. Now, there's only 2 things left that I do on this show, one of which is at the very end I get to tell you what I think of the guest. I always do this with everybody, and why? Because people need to know that Laura is a person who is a Starkist employee, but she's still a person. So I just give my thoughts on your product. I do not want to forget to take a moment to stop to say thank you so much to Holly Darling, because without her, you and I would have not met. We would have not had this interview, and I cannot thank her enough, because we literally have just met not so long ago, and I just think she's absolutely adorable. Holly, Coburn Communications, thank you so much for all the work you've done to facilitate and put this interview together. I can't thank you enough. Now, before I tell you what I think of you, I ask every show guest this. I ask every guest that comes on this show, and you're going to laugh because it's ridiculously silly, but I'm on a quest. And I know that Laura's going to have this answer. I know you're going to say, Cindy, I can do this for you. Of course, I said that yesterday, and I said it at the other show, and, well, none of my guests can do it. But maybe you can do it, because you're with Starkist Tuna, and you can do anything. Okay, so I'm on a mad hunt. Every time I interview somebody, I'm always thinking. So I'm like, okay, maybe Laura knows somebody who knows somebody, right? Because we all know somebody who knows somebody, right? I interview people for a living. I have a top 5 list of people I want to interview. There's an actor on that list, and maybe you know him, and maybe you can get me this interview. I've been working a year to get an interview with the actor Michael Madsen. Have you heard of him?
I have.
This is like the running joke on the show. Like every day I'm like, do you know Michael Madsen? Do you know anyone who knows Michael Madsen? I mean, and I've tried everything. I have tried everything. Everything. I'm like getting desperate now. I'm like, and you know what it is? Sure, you can call a publicist, and I've talked to his publicist a few times. We've gone back and forth. I've tried to get the 3 events he's been at. It's not for lack of trying. It's that I'm ridiculous. I could call friends I know and say, you know what, I really want this. Can you help me get it? But I'm ridiculously stubborn. I refuse. So I'll sit here and beg people that probably have never even seen him and be like, I know you're going to get me this interview, because it's like ridiculous. It's a year, okay? This is a year of my life to interview one guy. I mean, when does it end, right, Laura? When does it end? But I know you're going to say Starkist Tuna has an exclusive contract to work with Michael Madsen, and you're going to hook me up. Or,
Oh, I wish I could. But
you're killing me.
Sorry.
And the day gets better. Thanks a lot, Laura. Yeah, great. Can't wait to go out and buy that tuna stuff. Yeah, great. No, I had to ask. I can't help myself. And if nothing else, it's actually quite funny if you think about it, because I'm probably the only person you'll ever meet that literally is like carrying this pilgrimage to get to meet and interview Michael Madsen. It's like ridiculous. So, So before I ask, or before I finish the interview and letting you know what I think of you, I just wanted to ask, I'm not sure how close Philadelphia is to Pittsburgh, but I'm going to be in Philadelphia going to New York next week, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I could just pop in and say hi to her, but I'm probably not close to you there, am I? I'm not sure the distance between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it's about 5 hours. It's about a 5-hour drive.
Ouch. I love you, but not that much. Not this trip, at least in any case. Only because of the fact that we don't have time. I have to take care of business in New York and interview more people and try to find, maybe I'll find Michael Madsen.
You might. He might
be wandering around. And you know what? I'm in Wisconsin, and he was in Chicago 5 days ago. Who didn't tell me that he was at Wrigley Field? Right? I mean, I can touch. I can feel it. Like 90 miles. I'm like, they're killing me. People are killing me. It's nuts. It's crazy. Okay, we've gotten to that point in time where I get to tell Laura what I think of her. She can get on with her merry way, and we can kind of go on from here. First of all, thank you so very much for being so cooperative. I know this isn't the most ideal situation. We lost the call once. I feel terrible that I'm in a hotel with a vacuum going on, but we did the best we did, and I think we did a tremendous job. So thank you for your patience and your cooperation today. I do appreciate that.
My pleasure.
Let me just give my thoughts. Oh, of course. I'll give my thoughts about Laura and, of course, about Starkist Tuna. As I previously mentioned, Starkist Tuna is not exactly on the top 5 places that I've gone to purchase foods. But I will tell you this much. In doing the research on this particular product and in talking to a number of people who are huge advocates for your company, along with speaking to you today and learning the nutritional value of seafood, I think it's probably vitally important that I start stocking my house, not because I interviewed you, but because of the fact that they're posed as a greater good by looking at this company's products in general. They are versatile. They are, as I mentioned, creative out-of-the-box thinkers, which means they're always revolutionizing and reinventing themselves and their products. And in today's day and age, that is vitally important to get a staple product that people appreciate, that's economically feasible, and that's nutritional, healthy, and sound for your body. All of those are very, very important things. So obviously I'm an advocate so much so more now than before because I know more about this and I realize how important seafood is. I love the fact that you're so interactive with charity. I love the fact that your face, your name, and your symbol is across the board, and not only here but internationally as well. And since you've been in business since 1961, it's a testament to your company that you're still here, that you're still taking, that you're still on the top elite when it comes to your product, which I find amazing. On the flip side of the fence, if we talk about Laura the dietitian, you are so much more relaxed than I thought. I'm so very not nervous anymore like I was an hour ago because you are smart, because you are savvy, because you're very, very cultured and educated, which I find extremely impressive in today's day and age. It's vitally important that the people that help to run our companies know their product, know themselves, know what they have a passion for, and know what they're good at. You, my dear, have all of that. Not to mention the fact you're engaging and you love to write and you love to travel, which was 3 of my big things. On top of which, just a side note, I love the fact that you post Mark Ali's photography. Absolutely amazing. Love, love, love. I would be very honored if we had an opportunity to work together down the road, do an event together, have your product do many events together, or just have a partnership working together. I think it's important that you not only interview people or work with people or network, most importantly, that you maintain friendships first and foremost, because we're all kind of here together trying to take care of one another, so to speak. So that's my little spiel. That's it. That's all I got for you.
Well, thank you, Cindy. It's been a pleasure. You've been really fun to talk to.
Thank you. Oh, my gosh. Well, I appreciate that, Laura, definitely. And, I certainly speak to Holly if you like the idea, et cetera. And certainly we can talk more about this off air, and I'll stay in touch and all that good stuff. And I look forward to seeing your tweet messages. And I will make sure that, just to let you know, and you can let everybody else know that follows Starkist, within about an hour or so, this becomes an archived episode. Anybody can come back. They can listen to the interview at any point in time. My 60,000 listeners will listen to it. And, of course, obviously, if we formulate this partnership, then we'll be seeing each other more often. We'll get to do an event together. And then we can sit and laugh in person, and then maybe we'll find Michael Madsen together. Just saying.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. Wonderful. I hope you have a great weekend, and do not be a stranger. Feel free to come back on the show anytime.
Okay. Thank you, Cindy, so much.
All right,
Great
dear.
talking to you.
Thanks. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Was she not fabulous? Again, her name is Laura, and the last name is A-L-I, and, of course, she works for Starkist Tuna Company. Just to let everybody know, of course, she is part of the Ask the Dietitian program, so if you log into Starkist Tuna, or actually it's Starkist, go on the website, look for the section for Ask the Dietitian. You can ask her any and all questions relative to the product, and she'll be able to give you a good, well-versed answer. Again, we want to go through all the ways to find them. If you're on Facebook, it's Starkist. Starkist.com is the actual website. They are on Instagram as Starkist Charlie. Same thing with the Twitter handle, which is Starkist Charlie. Laura herself is on Twitter, and that's at Laura, ALI_RD. You can also find them on Pinterest and also on YouTube. Once again, big thanks to Laura for having her on the show today. Huge thanks. Once again, Holly, darling, thank you so much. I hope you heard this. I hope I did right by your client. I hope I did right by you. I hope everybody's a happy camper. I wish I could say that I was very happy. Now I get to pack out of my lovely hotel, try to figure out now that I am not going to 2 states, figure out where the rest of my weekend will lie. Watch Facebook for my details in terms of when my shows are for next week. I will be doing one of them from New York City. Cannot wait to go back home to my second home. So watch the show page, watch my personal page for updates on the radio show, and pray that I can get my phone to work. Just a side note to anybody trying to reach me, I will be unreachable until I fix my phone situation. Thanks to all for listening in. Have a wonderful weekend, and take care.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.
What you doing?
Ran out of space on my phone, so I'm deleting some stuff. Bye, singing dog. Bye, goal.
I pronounce you.
Bye, wedding ceremony.
Stop. At Metro PCS, you get 2 free phones with twice as much memory.
Really?
Don't say bye to your memories. Switch to Metro PCS and get 2 free LG K20 Plus phones with 32 gigs when you switch 2 lines. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Sales tax not included in phone price. Excludes numbers on the T-Mobile network. See store for details and terms and conditions.